two, 1, 2. Can you hear me?
Our marketing manager and acting head of marketing for Dube Telecom. She's made all of this possible, and it's thanks to her and her team that things are going well for us today. So let's also give her a round of applause. Today we've got a wonderful opportunity where we discuss an industrial revolution that is different in many kinds of ways. Before, oil and iron ore, or shall we say the steel industry, were the drivers of industrial development in Zimbabwe. But as we stand today, the world is totally different. The world is digitally transformed. Out of all the CEOs in the world, 2,000 CEOs in the world in a survey say that digital transformation is a very big part of the organizations. And by 2020, they expect their organizations to be fully digitally transformed. But what are the implications of digital transformation in Zimbabwe as we're looking at an industrial revolution? And this is the question that we pose today. And we have a panel of 5 gentlemen who are here to have a conversation with us regarding what is our future, what is the role of digital transformation in Zimbabwe's industrial development. And in our panel today, we have as our moderator, Dr. Thambo Nyathi. Please come forward, Dr. Thambo Nyathi. Dr. Thambo Nyathi is currently the head of the Department of Computer Science at National University of Science and Technology. He holds a PhD in computer science, specializing in the application of evolutionary algorithms to solve real-world problems such as cybersecurity, financial forecasting, scheduling, and big data. He holds several industrial certifications in the field of computing, and is also an affiliate member of a number of professional bodies. In his field, Dr. Nyathi has been lecturing for the past 14 years. Prior to that, he worked in private sector in the information communication technology industry for 12 years. One of our panelists as well is Oswald Jumira. Oswald is the Group Head of Innovation Partnerships for Liquid Telecommunications. His role is to drive innovation, vision, strategy, execution, and revenues for the company, working with partners within the innovation ecosystem, global technology companies. Over the last 14 years, Oswald has worked in a number of sub-Saharan countries across Africa, focusing in technology research, innovation, product development, business development, and partnerships to drive revenue growth and digital transformation. He has been involved in developing, commercializing mobile-based technology solutions within the health, agriculture, financial service, education, and government services sectors. So this is the man we're going to be asking a lot of questions today, because he's got all the bright ideas. Also on our panel is Mr. Brian Dube. Mr. Brian Dube is an information technology manager of McCloud, an IT professional. He has occupied various positions in the company. He has also gained experience through working for a number of other organizations like Bulawayo City Council as a systems analyst and with NGOs. He's also active in education and health sectors outside his normal working duties. Also on the panel we have Mr. McCloud Mungofa. McCloud is a project management practitioner, consultant, and information systems professional with a decade plus of experience working in project and program delivery in different sectors: ICT, social enterprise, non-profit, and construction. He's also a co-founder of the Stimulus Africa Foundation, which runs an innovation center in Harare. The hub focuses in capacity building for young entrepreneurs through its core pillars, which are training, networking, and mentorship. McCloud as a project portfolio experience ranges from organizational structures, business process re-engineering, core systems implementation, digital transformation, to space design and build. And then lastly but not least is Mr. Brian Dube. Oh, sorry, oh, you're already here, I'm sorry. It's Mr. Mbuso Ndlovu. Forgive me for that one. Mr. Mbuso Ndlovu is a business information systems professional with 30 years experience in the retail manufacturing sector in Zimbabwe. He's had experience in applying connectivity products into Zimbabwe to the business, in business solutions, from X25 networks of yesteryear up to the MPLS networks of today. He is also an IT executive for Edgar's, correct? Thank you very much. So this here is our panel, and Dr. Nyathi will be our moderator. Dr. Nyathi, I'll give you the space.
Good morning. I feel tempted where I'm standing to start opening this and reading a verse. I feel like I'm in a pulpit somewhere. I'd like to thank Liquid for organizing this, and I think at this juncture of our economy and the country, it's an important discussion to be holding. Technically, according to the United Nations, we're in the fourth industrial revolution. But then, what does it mean? What exactly is that? Those are the questions we need to answer. We're just flowing along with this fourth industrial revolution, or we partake into it. So, when you're the moderator, you're just a guy who has no opinion. I'm here to play the devil's advocate, and I'll be handing the mic to this gentleman who will be having a discussion. And I think what is important first is to define this digital transformation. What exactly is it? So I'll start off with Oswald, if you can define that to us.
Good morning, everyone. I don't have an academic definition of it, but I would like to use an example. I think traditionally, as we evolve as human beings, we are also embracing a lot of technology that are redefining our lives. And as we redefine our lives, we're actually increasing either efficiencies, we're increasing our reach, we're increasing access to information that we did not access before. So from a transformation perspective, it's actually not just about introducing some of the products we have like cloud, connectivity, it could be IoT, or all these new buzzwords. It's actually a change of lifestyle, a change of our behaviors, a change of the way we do business, a change of how we run companies. In many organizations, digital transformation is coming in based on different objectives. For us as a business in Liquid, we are transforming internally our business to comply with the fourth industrial revolution and also to remain relevant as the world is changing. So for me, digital transformation is change of behaviors, change of doing business, change of all our processes, changes in terms of how we reach our customers, changes of how we communicate with our customers, leveraging on foundations that have been built in terms of connectivity, which is technology driven, cloud computing, big data science, and also the academic side, which is producing different skills to support that. So I look at it from a perspective of change of human being and evolution of the human society. Thank you.
Now that we've had that brief discussion, I'm going to request the gentleman to your right sort of give us, from their own perspective, since they are all involved in the industry for quite some time. What have you seen practically, the changes or the evolution of digital transformation based on where we've come from and where we're heading within your own experience and within your own industry or sector?
Morning, Jason. I've come from pharmaceutical industry background, and there has been a lot of development coming on from that end. For example, you look at the fiber connectivity, it is in Zimbabwe, we have actually gone miles ahead of other countries, and this has enabled us to actually be able to actually connect a lot of things, because Internet of Things is basically the interconnectivity between many devices. And if you look at Zimbabwe, mobile penetration in our market is actually grown quite considerably, meaning we are now able to reach more people faster and more efficiently. And this actually enables us to actually create applications. For example, you realize that now the smartwatches, those smartwatches can actually monitor our blood pressure, our heartbeats, which in turn can be used to actually tell us the quality of life people are living, the quality of medications that we need to be producing, and actually be able to enhance our distribution channels in terms of providing the right medication to the right people at the right time.
He was very general. I'm playing the devil's advocate. The devil's advocate is not a nice man. I need you to be specific. He gave us a general overview of Internet of Things. I want everyone here to understand that this transformation, as you have seen it in the sector in which you are, actual exact examples, please.
All right, so I've consulted, I think the example I'd like to give is the financial services sector. So I've consulted widely in that area. And when it comes to digital transformation, the Internet of Things, it's about how can we better serve our customers, how can we acquire a new segment of customers, right? So in insurance, financial services, I think the challenge currently is you've got an older sort of demographic, right? Some say they're in the departure lounge, I don't know if that's true. But the idea is that you want to start getting new customers, so younger customers that you can interact with, right? So these are your millennials. I think there's a Generation Z now they talk about. So that's what it's been about. How can you better serve those customers, but also at a cheaper cost to serve, right? So instead of the physical structure, how can we do it on the phone? How can we do it on the tablet? And I think that's what I've seen the thrust being from the financial services sector.
Okay, thank you. You're a very brave man talking about the older generation. I don't think you look to your right, but anyway. I think we'll get an overview of the digital transformation from Mr. Ndlovu. He has been with it from the beginning up to this point.
He's a young man.
Trying to recover.
Yeah, the whole thing about digital transformation is about the customer being at the center of everything. If you cast your mind back then, organizations used to work on a monthly cycle. The customer receives their monthly statement. They shop for things that they need on a catalog that is printed, and the catalog lasts for 3 months. And now the customer is demanding online activity, instant gratification. Those demands from customers mean that your products and your services must respond instantaneously. The customer Googles and sees an outfit at Instagram or wherever, they expect it to be in your shop. And so therefore, you are placed in a very tight position that you must now respond to those instant gratification demands from customers. We sometimes deploy gadgets in retail spaces to monitor where the movement of customers around. Which is the most frequented area, what are they buying, and that then feeds into your planning. You must then provision apparel that suits the customer's need. You've got sensors all over the places, for counters in stores, also feeding into this data that you use to service the customer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think now we can discuss the role of connectivity. What is it impacting on digital transformation, or is it just we're rolling out connectivity and hoping people jump onto it, or is there demand for it?
I'm very proud to say that I work for a company that has been at the center of the whole connectivity conversation, especially in Zimbabwe and across the country. The journey that Liquid has taken is very interesting, and probably because of how technology has moved very fast, many of us tend to forget very quickly. Some of the people in this room probably would remember the dial-up days, when it was all about connecting that phone line, switching it into that dial-up modem, takes probably 30 minutes to download the page. Kids of today will never understand that. And there's been a lot of tectonic shifts over time to get us to the point where I can now even access my email, watch video on the whole. And people don't understand what happens in the background. And the journey that we as Liquid have taken, starting from a satellite business, backhauling traffic in Nigeria and all these countries, coming to Zimbabwe, digging all the routes across the country, laying fiber cables, connecting them into offices, connecting them into homes, I think has ushered in a new revolution that we cannot actually underestimate. Most of the new jobs that are going to exist in 5 years' time are going to be probably putting all of us in this room out of our jobs. We don't even know where we are going to be in 5 years' time. Probably all the roles that we are playing in organizations are going to be driven by an AI machine that's going to actually be able to, it could be run all my office work. I no longer need a PA. I can just get an assistant online who organizes my day. But all that is only enabled by connectivity. And not necessarily connectivity, high speed, reliable, secure, and actually scalable connectivity. And this is what we as Liquid have been pushing across the continent. And I believe the conversation of connectivity is actually not at the center of just business, even of health. Telemedicine is driven by connectivity, financial services are driven by connectivity, education has gone online, and you cannot do education without connectivity. We talk about areas like e-government. Most of the time we go get services from the government office, which is not necessary. We could do it back at home, but you need connectivity for that. Entertainment, we all watch TV 24/7, Netflix, all these new platforms, Kwese, all these platforms that are coming, they are all enabled by connectivity. So I believe connectivity is actually at the center of digital transformation. And we are actually a company that is involved in moving bits of data from one point to the other. As a business, we are also extending to data centers and all the other businesses like cloud. But at the center of our birth and our history is connectivity. And that's why digital transformation for us is a very important conversation.
Okay, thank you. Before you hand over the mic, I just need you to answer one thing though. You have rolled out all the cabling and everything, but how is the uptake? Is the uptake high from your perspective?
I think in this room, I would like anyone who doesn't have a cell phone to raise their hand today. I don't think any, okay, I've got two, so I can cover for the ones who don't have. What I'm just trying to show you is the impact of our connectivity is not measured by me connecting a house or me connecting an office. It's measured by the end device that people have that requires the connectivity we provide. So if Zimbabwe now has, I think, 12 million cell phone users, I think we've done something amazing. In Africa, we're now inching towards probably 600, 700 million people with mobile devices. And this has always been enabled by the connectivity that we've provided. So for me, the uptake that we have enabled is very, very high, and we are very proud of that. However, in terms of fixed connectivity to an infrastructure, there is still a lot of work to be done. But Africa is leading on mobile, and we enable mobile. But the fixed connectivity into homes, I believe in Zimbabwe, Loretta would confirm with me, we're probably around 200,000 probably at most capacity in terms of connecting homes. But in Zimbabwe, there are probably 3 million homes. So we're still a long journey to go.
Okay, thank you. I think what I was about to ask Brian is this connectivity forced, e.g. eco-cash? Is it out of necessity or is it out of desire?
Looking at eco-cash and our current economic situation, the fact that I can't go to the bank and get my money off the counter, at the present point in time, I would say maybe it's a bit forced, out of necessity more than anything else. But I think looking at it, I think it's part of change. We have to change. We have to adapt to our human beings. We've been in this planet, I don't know for how long. But I think it's part of change, and it is a good change. It's a product that came at the right time, and when you say it's forced, I think I'm sort of torn in between. But it is a good product because if you look at it, none of us now really need to go to the bank and actually withdraw money. It's actually even more safer for you to actually use your eco-cash and do your transactions from home. And because of that, you find that connectivity has enabled us to actually be able to do all those things. I don't think connectivity and Internet of Things will take away our jobs. I think it will just change how we do our work. It will just change how we live our lives. I think it will make us more productive, more efficient. Imagine right now, if we didn't have eco-cash, most of us wouldn't be here, we would actually be queuing at the bank waiting to get $50 bonus. But because of Internet of Things, I'm sure some of us here have done one or two transactions. I'm sure we've responded to it in emails from the office without necessarily having to go into the office. So, in a way, I think it is a good development. It is not forced on us. We are just adapting to the environment and actually being able to perform our duties more efficiently.
Thank you. All of us spoke about health. You are in the health sector, right? So, is there anything that, without giving away any trade secrets, is there anything your organization is doing in terms of innovation? Mr. Ndlovu spoke to us about they track their customers as they're working in terms of their demands. Is there anything that your organization is doing, whether in terms of practical work or financing research into health? I'm sure you want to talk about this.
As a pharmaceutical industry, yes, we are, because our whole objective is to actually better the lives of people in the country. So we are actually doing work in research in terms of how we can better better the lives of our customers. Because, mind you, we never know when you're going to get a pain. We never know when you're going to get a heart attack. But our idea is we want to try and reach everyone as fast as possible. We want to do what we call preventive cure, more than actually curing you. Because preventive, you treat the problem sooner than later. And later usually tends to have a lot of complications. So yeah, we are doing something in that sphere. And at the present moment, I'll be honest, our work has not been so much felt on the field because of the cost involved in actually carrying that out. And obviously there are issues when you're dealing with human beings, like their privacy, data security of their data and so on. So in short, I would say yes, we are doing something, and we hope that soon some of those projects will be felt in the market.
Okay, thank you. McCloud. Now, we spoke about eco-cash. It's out of necessity more than anything. Right, so there is WhatsApp, right? WhatsApp, it's all about cutting costs to the individual. It's a convenience service. Now, is there a way of leveraging over-the-top applications like WhatsApp in terms of enhancing your business side of things?
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, with the introduction of WhatsApp for Business, I think quite a few businesses are using that. I think initially there was a reluctance to go the WhatsApp route because I guess it was considered a little bit informal. A great example, I think, is Sure Bank. They've now got WhatsApp banking. Do we have a brand ambassador who can tell us what the name of the product is? But I think you can bank on WhatsApp. Social laws, isn't it? Yeah, so you can bank on WhatsApp, and I think more businesses are using WhatsApp to actually get in touch with their customers or the other way around. So I think definitely, without a doubt, yes, you can. I've seen it used in contact centers. So your contact center agents, have got all their digital sort of social media platforms. So they're sitting there, someone is taking care of the WhatsApp line, someone is taking care of the Facebook, the Twitter, and so forth. So absolutely. And if you will allow me to just go back to a point by Oswald, I think for industry, so really important what Liquid has done in terms of the infrastructure, right? So the hard ground has been done on the ground, the connectivity is there. And I really like that they're going into the cloud. So that's also a challenge, right? To say, I think the cloud then is the next frontier, because most businesses are looking at it and then they're saying, okay, we've got all this data, we've got this connectivity, but where do we put that data? How are all systems going to interact with the other side of things? So in essence, how do we present that data to the client on the other side? So at some point you have to go into the cloud. So you want to get rid of the server racks and things like that. So a challenge for Liquid is to say, actually that side of the business I think is really, really important. And also looking at industry-based solutions around the cloud. So if it's financial services, if it's health, I think that the platform as a service story is a big one, because everybody's looking at Amazon and so forth. So I think Liquid is heading in the right direction in terms of actually developing that side of business. Just to speak to that last point, I think, around then is business able to leverage? Because then the next question is, yes, we're connected, but where do we put it? And there's a little bit of fear around security, so I think you need to continue to educate us around, okay, this is how it's all going to work, this is how it's going to look. The cloud is not going to disappear. It's not going to. Someone said it's a bad name because it's the cloud, so people think it's going to disappear. But I think that a lot more needs to be done around cloud technologies to actually start converting that IoT story. I think, from where I sit.
Thank you. Mr. Ndlovu, I've got a not too good question, but I'm taking my lead from McCloud. I've had a number of discussions with people generally. There is a feeling that amongst the executives in key positions, they are the ones who are hindering the adoption of new technology and connectivity. Those decision makers, because their knowledge of the new technologies is not, there's a mistrust issue. Would you say that is correct, or it's a false misconception?
Yes and no. It's yes. If there is not enough lobbying within the organization to conscientize those others naysayers about adoption of technology, yes, that the other key stakeholders within the organization, they will tend to push down innovation, because it's traditionally viewed as a cost center, not as a center of innovation where you can monetize it and even have revenue lines coming out of that innovation. So if there is an internal advocate for innovation, the uptake becomes even larger, and the movement away from the cost center mentality. Because if you traditionally IT was reporting to finance, and finance is very strong on cost centers. What is the budget? How much is it costing? And sort of. But you then miss the point where you could put this as an innovation center, and where another set of products can spring from there.
Okay, would you say then there is an opportunity or an avenue for that kind of organization, where we take these executives and they are somehow educated, so that, because what you don't understand, you don't trust naturally. It's human nature. Is there an opportunity for that?
Yes, there is an opportunity. There are already time-tested models called maturity models. You could take the organization through indicators of maturity levels and demonstrate what speeds come through implementing incrementally those maturity models, starting from a non-optimized environment right up to an optimized environment, which is now responding to environmental and customer needs.
Okay, thank you. Oswald, do you want to say something?
Yeah, so the question about the executive, so there's a few fears, and I think, so I'm the guy they call in when they say, we're going to transform digitally, Mr. Project Manager, please say first. Number one is you almost always struggle to make the business case. What is the return on investment? So you need to start talking about IoT, digital transformation, and the investment case. I think sometimes it's about being the first mover. In our market, it seems people are not really comfortable with it. So you always struggle to make the investment case. So there's hesitance on that front from the executive to actually push through. I think somebody talked about, Oswald talked about the fear of losing jobs. It's in the back of the CEO's mind. Whenever you talk digital transformation, it's, are we going to chuck everybody out? We've got 1,500 employees here. What is it going to look like in 2 years? So that's another one. And then the context around interoperability, are all systems actually going to work, with this new thing? If you chuck them out, with millions worth of dollars invested in systems. So I think those are some of the other things that are playing in the back of the CEO's mind when you talk about digital transformation and actually going ahead to do it. And I've seen a few programs fail on that basis.
Can I just take one comment? I think some of our team members, when also they go engage, like Loretta and team, you see, this journey of digital transformation for us was not going to be possible if we have not done it ourselves. And Loretta will tell you that it's been an exercise for the last 18 months within Liquid as an organization. There has been some tears that have been shared. Unfortunately, we lost certain members of the team. That's a reality we have to face. But those who kept on being in the organization are those that took the attitude of reskilling themselves. Because we would definitely agree that all the degrees that we pride ourselves in having might not be that relevant anymore. So you might actually need to upskill yourself with the new skills that are relevant for this time. And inside the organization, the options were availed to people. Some took them to go and reskill. Some decided they were going to be stuck in selling connectivity, which is now a commodity for us. And unfortunately, they had to find other ways of deriving their livelihoods. So that's one area that I would want to share as an experience we've gone through. Because these guys had to understand how painful it is for us to do it, and also to share the journey with our customers. So organizational changes also happen. Structures either top down, they become generally flat. That's the reality. But that also brings a lot of advantages. Because with digital transformation, there's also cost savings that come with that. If you're running a paper-based company, where all the stuff, there was a printer, everyone was printing, now we send emails, you save a lot through that. If people were driving to the office to check their emails on Sunday because the boss has sent an agent email, they can now check their email on their phone. There's already cost savings that come with that. So it's also about how we position digital transformation within our organization from a financing perspective, efficiency perspective, productivity especially. Because there is no CEO that is not measured out of productivity. They have to make money. Don't forget about that. We wake up every day to make money. So if you tell someone that I'm giving you this technology to make more money, raise your hand if you're not going to listen to that. So for me, I think there are so many advantages, but it's also an educational exercise. There's a journey we're going through. It's painful. I don't want to make it look rosy. But I think at the end of the day, we're going to smile. Because we will also be globally compliant. So if you have an online product, an e-commerce platform, you were selling probably goods bought from cell phones bought from Joburg at a shop in downtown Blawayo. Now you can sell that on an online platform. But what it then means is a customer who's in Mutare, in Harare, can now buy your products because they are online. That's a new revenue stream for you. And probably people can even buy as far as Zambia, knowing that you've got a website, which you did not have before. So those are some of the journeys that we are seeing happening, and I believe there is a great smile at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you. Since you're still holding the microphone, Telecom. Right. who understand you're providing the platform as a service issue. Now, for an ordinary company, right, ordinary company which has taken up late adoption in terms of maybe connectivity, what advantages, what exactly would you offer them? I mean, they need to know. I mean, it's a nice term, cloud computing, but what exactly is it? And what can we, as an organization, how can we take advantage of that? And what are the options?
For me, I always believe, as a salesman, sometimes you have to take everything in bits and pieces, and you have to also understand your customer before you even pitch some of the solutions we sell. Because the problem that we have is if I just rush and start explaining IoT, AI, machine learning, and I'm talking to a guy in Godini there selling cell phones, the guy will be like, hey, my friend, later. Because they don't understand. But we take the extra mile of understanding our customer. It's very, very, I think Loretta has 101 sales for her team, right? And she tells them, guys, understand your customer. So it starts from that customer centricity that my chief here has explained, right? So you find that once we understand our customer, I now know that this is Dark Labs. Dark Labs had an internal server room before. There was a guy in most of these organizations paid to just watch whether the server is on or off. That was his job every day. And there was another procurement guy very happy because what he was doing was acquiring servers every day. So when we start dissecting that company and explaining to these guys that number one, get a dedicated line from 150 megabits per second line, and now move that internal data center you had at the back office, sell all those computers, put all your software, your systems onto this thing that we call the cloud, right? And this is how it works. And we teach them, we explain to them, and we also look at a value proposition approach. What is the value that we are giving this company to move from a dedicated server setup to a cloud setup? Cloud to me is just the servers that you have in your office, putting them in a certain place that you don't really have to know where it is, and actually storing your data there. With the confidence that it's secure, you can access it anytime, anywhere. So I don't think there's anyone who doesn't want to have that kind of, sorry. Hello? I don't think there's anyone who doesn't want to have that kind of setup where when I'm in Johannesburg, in Zambia, I can even access my office work, do my office duties. So those are some of the value propositions that we start selling. However, for us, like I said earlier on, it's a journey. We need to understand our customer, and we need to demystify these big terms, IoT, whatever. It's just sensors everywhere. We've seen sensors every day. But the problem that usually happens is these nomenclatures that are coming up, they make some people look great, some look cool because of that. But cloud is just taking a data center that you always had, server room, and putting it on the cloud, and now not having a heavy capex business. So you're not investing on capital expenditure every time. And your business model has changed from a capex heavy to an opex heavy business. So your balance sheet might not have assets because you don't need those assets. Because technology is also changing very fast. Today you buy 1 gig of RAM, tomorrow you need 2 gigs of RAM, the next day 5 gigs of RAM. How are you going to cope purchasing? Zimbabwe has no forex today. How are you going to keep sending someone to Joburg to buy RAM? Yet when you go on the cloud, you just change. It's just a button, 10 to 20, 28, 128. You just change. And already you've got high processing power. But for you to do that, you still need high-speed connectivity. So that could be a response to the question about the journey that we're taking to demystify this and sell our solutions to our customers.
Thank you. All right. We, particularly in the business sector and in industry and commerce and industry, there's a lot of talk about innovation and entrepreneurs. Who is meant to be these innovators? Who are they? Where are they? What do they have to be innovating on? We know our industry and commerce, there are very few jobs for our graduates, right? And we're saying, oh no, they should employ themselves. How? Or what are the enablers? What are the key things that are in place that should enable them to do that?
I think innovation comes from within a person. And looking at us here in Zimbabwe, I think when you talk of innovation, innovation is just an idea. And for an idea, you
you need to convert that idea into something practical. You definitely need resources. And for us in Zimbabwe, the biggest problem has really been in terms of financing some of these projects. And getting financing for an idea at times, like what my colleague said earlier on, been discussing, it's about someone realizing the return on that idea at the end of the day. So I might have an idea that can be a revolutionary idea, and as long as I don't have the means to actually turn that idea into a product, then that idea just dies a natural death. And generally, when you tell a student from university to say, go and employ yourself, it's easy to say that statement, but to them, mind you, is someone who's coming from class, is someone who does not have the industrial experience, and so you'll find that for them it's a bit difficult. That's why you find that in the IT industry, there are now what we call those hubs. The hubs. Basically, these hubs are idea centers where young people can come in and present their ideas, and potential investors can actually put money into those projects to actually have a product that can be marketed and actually sold in the market. So I think basically anyone here can be an innovator. Anyone, as long as you've got a good idea that you believe in it and you think that it's going to improve human beings in the human life, I think anyone can be an innovator.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I think anybody can be an innovator. And if you want to take it to enterprise level, you have micro enterprise. So someone in the village who's turning a profit of selling their chickens. Connectivity plays a big role still, right? So they could be on WhatsApp contacting everybody in their neighborhood about the next batch of chickens. Or it could be the next high-impact entrepreneur doing Bitcoin online, or an entrepreneur who needs some service in the cloud or a platform to develop off. So I think anybody really, I think, but connectivity will play a big role in that. And I think it's one of the major ones. Financing, I think, rears its ugly head when it comes to Zimbabwe. So I think that's an area that will need to be looked at. But really anybody can work in the area of innovation.
Okay. Mr. Ndlovu, is the environment conducive for innovation?
It is. We've got a very big problem as a country. Okay, I'm going to talk politics now. See, we've got a Zimbabwe Manpower Development Fund. It's still developing, sponsoring apprentices to do tool making, fitting and turning. Those are all jobs that have died. We all know, those that have got cars, we all know that now the job of panel beating is almost dead. Now it's a matter of cutting and fixing already prefabricated parts. So institutions such as ZimDev, they must be funding innovation hubs. Organizations themselves must also be funding innovation hubs. We've got very few innovation. Universities themselves must have innovation. Polytechnics must have innovation hubs. If you look at the case of Kenya, Kenya's GDP from IT is now 3%. They are exporting IT services. There is a huge company, I will mention it in Harare called Cellulant. It's an offshoot of the Kenyan Innovation Hub. And the head of that organization was named as the most influential organization in Africa. Born out of those innovations where government policy and private enterprise policy funded those innovation hubs. We must teach our people coding. We must teach them how to develop web apps. We must not be downloading web apps developed in China, because those web apps are also means of gathering data. We are farming out our data to China, to Europe, and they are using that within big data algorithms to further go and market to us.
Can I just make a note of it? So this is an area I'm very passionate about, and my head starts spinning very well when we talk about innovation hubs. So within Liquid, there's a program that we run. I think if you guys can just Google it around, what we've been doing is we went back to the African ecosystem, and we asked ourselves, how do we enable the future companies and future skills on the continent? And some of the decisions that we have made are very interesting, and they speak to what the gentleman here is speaking about. One of the first things we did is we identified Kenya as one of our centers of excellence. I actually operate from Nairobi most of the time, and I've been to all those hubs. I know those cellulant guys and everything. Those guys were born out of a government strategic decision to look at the biggest challenge that Africa is going to face, the unemployed, educated youth. All our brothers and sisters have degrees, but they're sitting at home. Very smart people, underutilized. The question becomes, what do they do during their spare time? Either they're going to end up smoking, they're going to end up drinking, or into other crimes. So what Kenya did, because they had a youth bulge problem, they then discovered, let's set up these innovation centers across the country. And in those centers, let's bring in this idea of skills development, coding skills. In Nairobi, if you ask someone, can you develop in Python or Java or these languages, many people raise their hands. Because it has become a movement that everyone should be understanding software development. And these hubs are the centers where kids go and learn. The next iteration they looked at was, how do we incubate ideas and actually accelerate ideas? How do we then provide funding for those ideas? And how do we then support these companies to grow? So we as Liquid are supporting this whole ecosystem through e-learning platforms that we have launched. If you can Google 21cskills.africa, it's a platform that we developed at Liquid across the continent, where we are saying we are teaching 21st century skills. And our 21st century skills are big data, data science, machine learning, IoT, blockchain, because these are the skills that are going to be required in the future. Forget about these other skills that we have today, even coding. Coding is going to be a basic necessity. My daughter is 6 years old. She's already being taught coding at primary school. So it's going to be, it's like any other thing that everyone should know. But on top of the coding, we now need the relevant skills that will make Zimbabwe a great nation. Zimbabwe can never again go back to the heavy industrialization of a long time ago. Forget about that. We are a knowledge economy in this country. We've got skilled people and brainy people, but the only thing we need to do now is to leverage on setting up these centers. And this is something that we are wanting to bring even into Zimbabwe. Loretta has connected some hubs at MSU, UZ, and all these institutions. The idea is, how do we build future skills that will take Zimbabwe to another level? We had BCom marketing in one point, computer science, engineering was sexy, but we now need new professions. Because if we're going to stand in front of the guys in America, South Africa, and other countries, we need to talk blockchain, we need to talk Bitcoin, we need to talk machine learning. Otherwise, you just be quiet and feel out of place. So for me, I think it goes back again to the foundational infrastructure, connectivity, cloud computing, data centers, skills. Universities need to also evolve, my brother. Because some of the degrees you're probably checking out are not relevant for where Zimbabwe needs to go. You can teach me chemical engineering. There's only one Sable Chemical in Zimbabwe that does massive chemical engineering stuff. Probably I now need to know how I can be a software developer and do jobs for an American company while I'm online. In Nairobi, there are youngsters that just sit in restaurants coding for Goldman Sachs in the US, Merrill Lynch, all those companies. And these guys are getting hard dollar. And I think Zimbabweans can do the same. So for me, this idea of innovation hubs, enabling the ecosystem, the reason I'm saying this in front of all of you is I think all of us have a part to play. It's not Liquid alone who's going to do that. You have to tell your kids, your uncles, your brothers and sisters, please go on the internet, understand this idea of what they call the gig economy, doing online jobs while you're at home. You will actually make more money than waking up every day.
Okay, thank you.
Also.
Thanks also for those comments. I think very pertinent stuff that's coming up. Loretta, I'm coming in for a connection. I'm connected to the hubs. we need to sort that out. But I think really important, the issue of skills and everything else that's been mentioned here. And I think, humor me a little bit, because Bongani, our event coordinator, sent us a few papers on the IoT, what was called an IoT update from about 2015. I'll give you a few examples, guys. So South Africa, so the e-toll system, that's really about interconnected devices. So your tolling is deducted automatically as you pass the toll. It is said that in South Africa they're putting in sensors everywhere, right? So we can connect to more devices, whether they're fridges, cars, whatever is coming, right? It's coming in slowly, but it's going to be a big boom, I think, at some point. The government is involved. So what role do we have as a nation, right? So in each of these countries that I'm going to give you, the government is playing a part. In Kenya, waste management was a big issue. They're working with IBM around measuring the efficiency of their trucks. So they're putting devices onto their trucks and they're tracking that. And if you look at Kenya's internet penetration versus Zimbabwe, Kenya is 47, Zimbabwe is 54. Mobile penetration, Kenya is 80%, Zimbabwe is 92, but Kenya is considered primed for for IoT and innovation, but we kind of are sitting back. So we're wasting, time, guys. Nigeria, 48 million internet users. They've got a national sort of information, communication and technology strategic plan. It was from 2010 to 2015. I think they've got an update on that. In Egypt, they've got a steering committee at government level. They work with government, academia, and private sector. They've got a steering committee looking at IoT, interconnectedness of things. Namibia is doing stuff around drugs, so HIV drugs, dispensing electronically. Nigeria had a problem with counterfeiting of drugs, so they're using RFID chips, so to track the drugs from the manufacturer right to the person at home, so they can track the authenticity and the path of those drugs. So there's a lot going on in those few countries. So this was from an update around IoT, and the rest of Africa is kind of sitting back, which is unfortunate. So we do need to move ahead, but I think at national level we do need steering committees, plans around IoT and what we're going to do with it, because I think it also needs to be at that level, then cascading down into our enterprises.
Okay. You both spoke about two things. You said the government was involved in that. Yeah. So somehow we need either to lobby the government or get them on board to be a strategy for going forward. Do you have an opinion, Mr.
Yes, that's true. But sometimes you need to get on with it, and then the government will see the light. The initiatives that are being done by Liquid in terms of providing these hubs is quite commendable. They must then extend those hubs to Rwanda and to Tito there, so that those youngsters also experience it. And when government then sees all this activity and traction, they will probably come aboard. So if you go there and tell them this, they will all talk about budget allocation and they'll wait for November and it won't happen. Start small in the small centers, decentralize from Bulawayo and Harare, move it to Mutare, move it to Gweru. There's a lot of universities now around in fact, in this country, if you throw a stone, you'll hit a graduate. There's so much of them out there. We are an agricultural country. Our economy is agricultural based. We should be deploying solutions on Internet of Things around agriculture. How do we track stolen cattle? How do we track diseases, outbreak of foot and mouth? How do we track rainfall, localized rainfall patterns? How do we track floods? All those things. If they then appeal to the ordinary person in the rural areas who is agro-based, there will be a lot of uptake.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so before we start interacting with everyone else, just one last issue, big data. Internet of Things, we all know it comes with big data. What is it, and what impact will it have on our society?
So big data, I think, has many definitions again, but I always want to take things to a conversation level. All of you probably might agree that we are starting to see large volumes of data. That's number one. They call them the 4 V's, I think, of data. So there's the idea of large volumes of data. Then there's the veracity of data, different types of data. We have images, we have video, we have text, we have machine-based data and all sorts of data, right? And I think there's the other V should be velocity. Data is moving at a very fast pace now. If my sister in the UK sends an image on Instagram, in less than a second, probably 1 million people across the world have access to it. Then the last V,
Variety we covered.
no, I can't remember. There's a fourth V I'm just forgetting about. I'll remember it as I go along. But what I'm trying to show is this journey has happened over time. I want to go back again to the time of the modem. The days of the modem, we always wanted to use internet for emails. Remember, our first experience with internet was email. It moved a bit to MMS on the phone. We were sending images via MMS. The next thing was, I think, early 2000s when 3G was coming in, there was no WhatsApp. There was, I think, those MIG, there was this funny instant messaging platforms that were there. Facebook revolutionized a lot of things. Come after Facebook, there came the era of, I think, a bit of video on demand, the early days of Netflix, people streaming. So you can actually see that there's a journey of data that has happened where it's getting higher and higher in volume. And as it gets higher and higher in volume, it gets more and more sporadic in its nature. It comes anytime, anywhere from all corners of the world. I was reading something recently that all the data that was created in the world from the day people started counting data to probably November last year is actually less than the data created from November last year to today. If you think about that, that's very confusing, right? Because all the data that was created up to last year November is less than the amount of data in volume created in the last 5 months. So you can actually see that there's a sporadic and exponential growth of data. And it has come to a point where even our cell phones most of the time cannot download new apps because we've got loads of videos and photos from friends. That's the impact of big data. And the other challenge that is coming in with is there's a privacy challenge that comes in with. Many people that have their phones hacked, their emails hacked, they've lost private information that they are very much concerned about. So these are some of the challenges that come with this big data conversation. The other challenge that we are looking at is, like I said, your device becomes limited in terms of storage. Can I not store that data on Google Cloud? Can I not store those photos on Google Drive? Right? And then I access them as I need with connectivity. So the whole conversation of data centers and cloud comes in. It has been driven by this big data conversation. And as we go along, Africa's biggest asset in the future is going to be our data. It's actually more valuable than the minerals we all cry for. Those Makorokozas are not making as much money as they would have made if they invested in data-driven products or services. And as you look at that, the top 5 companies in the world are all data science companies. Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and I think there's Alibaba. All those companies are all heavy on data. And they're generating data in the millions every moment. And because of that trend, we are now starting to see new economies, new skills coming in. How do they process all this data that is just too much as quickly as possible? The human mind cannot comprehend that. That is why we need AI. That is why we need machine learning. So machines have to be able to process it. We cannot process that data. And for us as a business, this is where connectivity enables that. Cloud enables that. Data centers enable that. But the conversation about big data, to me, is a very important one. Be whatever industry you're in, data is very integral to decision making, value creation, and optimization of our businesses. So it's a very, very, very important topic, in my view.
Okay, so the question is, how do we as an economy or as a country then leverage on the data we are individually producing? Mr. Ndlovu spoke about if we download applications from China, they are the ones who are making use of our data. They know if we go to Zimbabwe, based on the analysis of this data collected from Zimbabweans or Africans, we can go there with this type of business. But then how do we, as a nation, extract this big data from our own people and analyze it and process it?
I think that is very simple. Like everyone is already highlighted on the platform. We've got a lot of sensors around. And these sensors basically emanate from your cell phones, your ATM machines, your computers,
Every time you go into your device, every time you go into your computer, you do any electronic transaction, that data is being recorded somewhere. The only unfortunate thing is that that data is being stored somewhere remote where we don't know where it is. But that data is used mainly for targeted, what we call targeted marketing, especially for organizations. Like I had already highlighted before, that we as a pharmaceutical company, we are already looking into that platform where we are saying, okay, how can we collect people data? How can we collect your data that would show us your well-being? In short, we're trying to measure your heart rate, your blood pressure, your day-to-day routine, so that we can actually monitor and actually be able to produce products that are specifically targeted at you as a customer. Because mind you, at the end of the day, this is all about making money. So when we look at big data, we are looking at specific trends. We're just trending and analyzing, looking at what are you doing, what are the possible decisions that you're going to make in the future, what are the possible health issues that are going to come along your lifeline, so that at least we are in a position to be ready to actually provide the right medication at the right time. For example, I'll give you an example of Cyclone Ida. If we had a program that could tell us to predict, to say maybe there's going to be a cholera outbreak, there's going to be a malaria outbreak in that area, that would actually feed back into our production and our procurement to ensure that we've got the raw materials to produce the malaria drugs, to produce the cholera medication on time, so that it's there on time before there's a huge outbreak. So in a way, in Zimbabwe, we can use that data to actually improve our ecosystems. That is your medication, your financial, your environmental system, so that at least we prevent catastrophic events from happening before they happen.
Yeah, very good. So I think with data, it's just taking you back to insurance quickly. There's wearables, so people are collecting data through wearables, sensors on your cars, how hard you brake, how much of a risk are you, what health issues, like Brian has just been talking about, are you likely to have. So it makes the underwriting process a lot more effective. I think the challenge is with data analytics. We don't have the skills to analyze the data. Machines will need to come in, as Oswald said, so kudos to Liquid for those skills that they're building. I think it needs to be upscaled. But I think underpinning everything is the issue of context. So I think issues around government policy around data, the frameworks, security, privacy, can it be offshore, can it be onshore, what does that all mean? I think is something that still needs to be framed. So the issue of context, I think, remains the sole point around data, but I think we need the skills and we need to keep the research going around data and the analysis of that data.
Okay, and finally, Mbuso Ndlovu.
Yeah, like I say, we're not collecting enough data. But however, whoever is collecting the data indirectly on our behalf, we've got the platforms to analyze that data on. The Microsoft Cloud comes in with the Power BI tools that are able to visualize most of that big data and look at it. The beauty of it is that, as my colleague from Liquid had mentioned, that these algorithms to compute the large data requires a whole lot of in-memory processing, a whole lot of processor power, which most of the organizations do not have. So you could, for a limited period, let's say 1 week, subscribe to 4 processors and terabytes of memory, process that data, get insights out of it, and then use it and sign off and go back to your normal workload on the cloud. So the connectivity via cloud has made us leapfrog the analysis of that information. The missing part is the data. So we must start gathering the data, but while that data is missing, there is also some people who have already gathered the data indirectly on our behalf to use that data as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, before we open it, can I just put one disclaimer? The gender imbalance in the panel.
Yeah.
assistance for it.
That needs to be addressed.
Hold on to it. We'll be opening up for a question and answer session. So if you do have a question, please just do raise your hand. We do have a lady who's going around the roving microphone. So please feel free to raise your hand and she'll come over to you so that you can present a question to the board. Do not fear to also ask the professor. A lot of questions about education around here and data. Are there any questions? Free to ask any questions to our panel. No matter how controversial they are. Thank you very much, sir. There's a question in the back.
Thank you. Let me see from United Panelists. I want to comment on its liquidity, what they've done for us. I know we can say that we can blame the government for everything, but I'd like to move liquidity by connecting everyone through the trenches, through the white fiber, throughout the country. What we have seen with that is when someone makes a move, we have seen that the government is going to follow suit. So from the time we started doing the trenches, I've noticed that Telecom has followed suit. So I think what I'm saying is that we should continue doing what we are doing, and then the government is going to follow suit, and then we're going to have whatever.
Thank you very much. Is there any question directed to any members? You can actually direct a question. Sir? Feel free to direct any of your questions to any of the panelists.
Thank you. I think any member of the panel could assist. It would seem like most of people accessing data are doing it through mostly cell phones and the like. But now I find that in terms of availability of network, it seems to be still quite a problem. You go to nearby places, maybe even like Matopo here, where quite a lot of people have cell phones, but there is no network connectivity. Doesn't then that affect the progress in terms of this network and whatever it is?
I think let me take that one, because connectivity is a liquid role and also part of the greater business, including Econet. I would like to agree with you that we always have pockets where connectivity is a challenge. That I cannot deny. And even if you go to any developed country, the tele density is not 100% in all countries. There's a lot of metrics that come in when it comes to those kind of situations. And there's a point I would like to make that every year we make it, there's a percentage that we give to portals every year for USF. And the purpose of USF is to go create base stations and connectivity points in areas of no high economic viability. We don't, 2% of our revenue I think goes to portals for that. But the use of that money is a conversation for another day. So what I would say is we are continuously trying to connect those points, especially, but we are also a business, you'd agree with me, that I can go put a base station in the middle of Kariba Dam at an island there, but there are only 5 subscribers. And it would cost me $1 million to do that. So the metrics are a challenge for us. And that's why USF Fund was set up through ITU and the United Nations to serve those people without connectivity. In certain countries, connectivity has become a human right. I think in Finland, it's a human right to be connected in Finland. So Zimbabwe also needs to get to that level, but government also needs to play its part. We are also contributing towards that. But unfortunately, like I said, in those areas, I know for a fact, Matopo, Mat South, somewhere there, they are connectivity, Cholocho, I think, they are connectivity problems. And for Liquid, for us to trench to those areas, we have now started trenching to growth points and other business centers. But again, it's a lot of capital intensive projects where government should also chip in. So I wouldn't want to blame government, but I'm just trying to contextualize.
Do you have a question, Officer?
Very good morning. My name is Chris Mayer. I'd like to maybe throw my questions to the gentleman who was just speaking just now. and the second one from left. Forgive me for missing your names. But the question is about the human development part of bringing usage of this platform. How, in your experience, have other countries like Kenya dealt with language? What I'm looking at is, for Zimbabwe, we have 16 to 17 official languages, and when you are trying to train people, it means that whatever document you have, it has to be translated to 16 languages, which is a cost. And I feel that it is hindering dissemination of information and maybe slowing us down to some degree. How do you think this can be solved, or is it a problem as far as you can notice? Thank you.
I think the language challenge in Zimbabwe, to me, is not a very, very big problem, number one, to say. The reason I'm saying that is, I've been to countries like Nigeria. Nigeria has 54 spoken languages. And imagine they want to translate it. In East Africa, I think there's Swahili, which is universal, but they have local, like in Kenya, I think there were 14, 16 indigenous languages. But Swahili is the universal language there. South Africa is, I think, 15. And you can even notice that there is no way you are going to have parity of all languages, to be frank. But you find that Africa probably has an advantage of being the Anglo side or the Franco side. So you find that most Francophone countries, they might have a local language strength, but there's also the colonial language that dominates. And that's the one that we usually use. Like right now, I'm speaking in English. I could be speaking in Shona or in Ndebele, but it's context that what language unifies us in this room. So at least we all communicate. And I think literacy levels in Zimbabwe, as much as the economy is not performed, we are still high. And English literacy, what they call literacy based on English writing and speaking, Zimbabwe, I think, is still part of the top countries in Africa. So for us, when we deploy solutions or learning, we generally gravitate towards English. However, as we move also to more awareness, it will be great if we can have Shona and Ndebele and could be Nyanja or whatever other languages in the country, right? But the other question that comes to mind, I think we spoke about it earlier on, that when you come to scientific terminologies, we need to recreate new words for some of these technologies. Fortunately for us, because that's IP, right? But the process of doing that is very expensive. Imagine if you are going to name something like cloud in Shona, right? It's not Makuti or Makore, right? But it can mean multiple things. So this is where some of the context, nomenclature, it's quite a challenge. But I hear you. And I think even Econet Liquid, they've tried to now have a Shona version and a Ndebele version, especially on brochures or information material, to serve the people in the rural areas. But our literacy is high. So from a commercial perspective, to be frank with you, I wouldn't invest much in languages if it was Oswald, because I believe you all can read English. Most of my target markets can read English. If they cannot, there will be a kid who goes to school who translates for the grandmother. So that's one of the reasons I would give.
What was I your second one?
You were the second.
All right. So I wouldn't dismiss official languages. I think Oswald is nailed. I'll tell you a funny story. So we went to farming community. They had academics supposed to assist with the farming process there. Funny story. So everybody was mobilized. Everybody came. We had hundreds of people, but probably 10% of people brought their phones. So we couldn't register them. So the issue of culture, so whilst our mobile penetration is high, the issue of the culture of using your phone or of seeing it as a tool in your business process is also probably something that needs to be looked at. Connectivity was another issue. I think someone has already mentioned connectivity. So in that area, connectivity was bad. So it was up and down. But the issue of, so people didn't bring their phones. So why didn't you bring your phone? We thought we told you about this thing. They said, we generally don't carry them around. So we need to drive that culture that says, look, so the kids in town, that's the culture. They're on Instagram, they're on Twitter. So we probably sometimes overestimate what that cell phone culture, if you allow me to call it that, is, and what level we are with that. So some people see, that thing as a tool. They can't do without it. It's by their side every day. Most of you have your phones, and in some areas, they'll leave it at home and things like that. So the issue of language and culture around your cell phone as a tool, I think, does need to be looked at.
And on a lighter note, when the cell phone first landed here in this country, somebody at Net One decided to call it Narambosh. It was for the rich people. Now it's time to revisit that name again, because every poor man has got a cell phone now.
Thank you for the light note. Are there any questions from the floor? This is your opportunity. There's a gentleman over there.
Can I ask you, can I take this back to you a bit? What's your personal email address? Which service provider do you use? Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, right? Do you know where the servers are? Is it secure? Where do you store your private emails that you don't want your boss to see? What I'm trying to arrive at is there's a stigma about cloud, but we've always been using cloud when you set up an email address. All that information is sitting somewhere that you don't even know, but because that's where you store all those files you don't want everyone else to see, already it's secure in your mind, right? But it can also, and no system is hack-proof. Every system can be hacked, including the CIA itself was hacked before. So anything can be hacked. But one thing that should give you confidence is we've been using cloud through emails for a long time. So when Liquid starts and comes and says cloud, they are trying to pitch the value proposition that move your corporate also to the cloud, with the cost savings that come with that. The security part, most of the cloud services we're selling are certified by most of the security standards and certifications that are required. I think these guys, when they come sell to you, they'll show you, there's a big slide I know in our pitch deck that shows all those certifications across the world. In terms of file sharing is a combination of multiple factors. Cloud actually, when you start doing document sharing or centralized cloud hosting, there's no more need for you to push a file to someone else because you're storing in 1 TB, right? So we're just accessing the same database. So if you cannot send me, just like the same way if I were to log into your email, you give me your password and your email address, I'm in Zambia, another guy in America. We can all log into your email, right? So it's one central server base, that is central database that is existing. So file sharing, those kind of services in the future, sorry to say, might not exist anymore. Because we used to share files because we had dedicated servers in different places. You know, the whole MPLS strategy. MPLS is also, maybe in 5 years' time, there won't be MPLS existing because it's all in the cloud. So why do you need to have different IP addresses, VPNs all over? Yet we've got one cloud database that everyone across the world can access. So from a file sharing perspective, it's very secure and the only way we can confirm security is through certifications of guys who do penetration tests, they check the links. But what happens also in between transmission, there's also people waiting to hack into some of the Liquid systems. That's why we have all these certifications that we go through. Independent people come in, they certify our systems, our networks, our platforms. So that but I do not want to come out and say there will never be an attack. It will always happen. But I believe the security levels we have are conducive enough for us to confirm that our network is secure, our platforms are secure.
Thank you, Oswald.
And one of the biggest problems with hacking is a system that sits between the chair and the keyboard. And that system is called human being. 3 times in my 30 years, I've seen 3 hackings. One on a Linux mailbox completely taken over and gone wrong. And when we looked at the traces, it was one employee who put in their password. So most of the time, hackers use internal stuff. You have a cell phone. Please put in your password for your server, and suddenly it disappears. And say, oh, okay, I didn't get the cell phone, and they are in. So most of the security issues are around policy and enforcement and gadgets that you put on this other side. Out there in the cloud, it's, as he has already said, it's Fort Knox. It's the Alcatraz. It is between the chair and the keyboard.
Thank you. We'll take the last two questions as one here.
Thank you. Mine is coming from the understanding that we find it a bit difficult to encourage people to take up technologies in the different workplaces. Particularly looking at also the point that you raised, that you have a difficulty in developing a business case, and what you then say is going to be the benefit of taking those up. What I really want to understand is when your own line of work as individuals, perhaps, what kind of research would you be doing in your companies to actually leverage, or rather be able to get to a point where you're saying this is how much we've gained through taking up this kind of technology, or this kind of innovations in our company. Where I'm going at is for example, one of Mr. Ndlovu said that Kenya has had a 2% GDP increase through the use of technologies or whichever innovations in technology. Are we able, as a country, then, after all those collective efforts, be able to say, okay, this is how much we've gained, this is how much we've grown as a result of taking up these innovations? Maybe that would also help in improving the actors that we have in our society to then improve and take up those technologies.
To answer that one, that's not an easy. It's not going to be an easy answer, because, like we said before, it's trying to convince the financial person to spend his money on something that is not going to see an immediate return on investment. The biggest challenge is quantifying that investment to say this is how you are going to get back your money. The benefits are quite clear for everyone to see. That, for example, the cell phone, if someone had gone to you, let's say 20 years back, and said, no, let's create a phone like this, it will make us so much money, it would have been simple for that person to actually visualize that everyone is going to want to buy a cell phone. But in industry, unfortunately, we have to do the dogfight or the bullfight, where you have to convince the executives to say, this will have a positive outcome. I cannot quantify it, but it will have definitely a positive income, because I believe it all depends on the person who's proposing the project. So, in short, to answer you, I have to say it all starts with us as the IT guys to portray or to give a visual image of the benefits of that investment without necessarily having to calculate the return on investment. Because if we can't do that, which means we ourselves, we don't believe in that particular project. So therefore, how do you then convince the other person at the other end to actually invest a lot of money? It's not little money that we're talking about, but the returns are even greater. Like my colleagues have already highlighted, you look at the advantages and disadvantages of having your own infrastructure rather than your own capex infrastructure that you have to maintain, and versus you having infrastructure that you only pay for and someone maintains for you. So I think if you are to convince your executives, it's all about looking at the benefits more than the cons. Otherwise, you won't be able to actually move this forward.
Okay, we have the last few questions.
Thank you. If you look at asset profile of any organization, assets in their physical nature, they are hard. What finance people put in the books as the value of the organization. But we're talking about, well, in any normal situation, there is no server that is more expensive than data is holding. Then how does an IT person justify a project without putting a formula maybe for return on investment on that project in terms of the data that's going to be of value to the organization other than the physical hardware, the cable they have? How does IT calculate the return on investment on data?
You want to answer that?
That's an interesting one because we're talking about economics of cloud computing now versus...
I think, it's very interesting that you note that. And I want to give you a good example, right? So Uber, I think you guys know about this Uber thing, right? Uber is now valued at $120 billion. If you look at the balance sheet for Uber, I think they've got less than $1 billion in terms of assets as a company. And most of their value, I think they've got a 25x of EBITDA valuation, right? So their valuation is now based on new metrics of valuating a company. It's no longer the traditional, but if I were to look at a company like maybe, I'll give an example of, let's say for argument's sake, Zesa. Zesa's valuation is about how many transformers they have, how much cable they have, all those assets. But Zesa is by far less valuable than Uber, which is 1 billion in terms of what? Less than $1 billion in terms of assets. So it just speaks to the fact that what is more valuable now is not a physical structure, but it's actually data. And for us to think in this realm, it's very difficult. The finance guy won't understand it. Because that guy has been used to you coming to procurement to buy servers every 6 months, and then they amortize that and depreciate that over some time. They play their balance sheet mechanics, and also they report either a loss or a profit for the business. When you look at below EBITDA, right? So the whole idea I'm trying to come up to is, this is the shift and evolution I was speaking to initially of DX. There's a different mindset that comes in. And also there's a change in business models. The business model of a company 5 years ago cannot be the same today. Because your valuation of your assets, since you have OPEXed, we call it OPEXing the business. You have moved from CAPEX to OPEX. So no more, imagine there's not much cabling anymore to that room. Just like what happened when Wi-Fi came into the business. Remember when companies started putting a Wi-Fi in the company, they stopped cabling too much. And cabling was a big business. And rats made sure that cabling companies made money because they would keep biting those cables. Then you call the companies that repair, right? But now you don't need those guys anymore because you've got Wi-Fi in the room. So you find that the business models are changing. But what I would encourage is, as the journey goes on, the metrics or the valuation of the impact of the cloud is diverse. There's the benefits, like he mentioned, of an OPEX perspective, of a CAPEX perspective, even of an organizational change. Because your organization is going to change. You know, right now, one of my relatives works at Barclays, ABSA in Joburg. They were recently told that they are no longer going to have offices inside their building. So all offices were broken down. Corner office, promotion, you go to the corner, you're a special guy. Everyone, pull office. And what they then said is there's what they call hot desking. There's no more need for Oswald to bring his wife's pictures in the office, showcase all that kind of stuff. You can do that at your home. You got a shared space. You all sit, if you're early in the morning, you get the best spot. But the reason they did that is they've realized that organizationally, when you talk about DX, this idea of closed offices doesn't meet the demands of the future. And also, they've realized that Oswald can work. I personally don't ever hold an office in Liquid. I refused an office. Because I work in innovation hubs or at my house. Because if Loretta wants me, I'm always available. If she sends me an email, be it I don't even have to tell Loretta, then she reply my email, right? But I don't have to tell her. So these are some of the transformational changes it brings. You now start cutting your office space. You don't need big offices. Probably you don't need too much electricity bills. You don't need too many people cleaning the office. So those are the benefits that come with this transformation we're talking about. But looking at the server architecture, that one, my friend, you're going to change that business model. Whether you like it or not, and the sooner you do it, I'll tell you, the sooner you get the returns. Because one way or the other, we're going to shift.
Thank you very much. I think there's a question from...
Okay, good morning. I'm in education. My name is Tinashi, so I would like to first commend you guys together with Sol for the connection package that you have for schools, right? And that regard, I also want to ask, what are you going to offer for schools in terms of cloud services? Because as schools, we don't make profits. We have to extend all the costs to the parents, of which we have a few parents. So what package do you have in place for that? And secondly, speaking of connecting hubs or having hubs right across with colleges and all that, right? How much have you done in terms of converting those ideas into profitable entities? Because it's good to have these hubs, it's good to share ideas, but at the end of the day, those guys still go back home jobless and with no income. How much have you done, or how much are you planning on doing converting those to profitable entities?
In terms of, oh sorry, is it working? No, it's off. Okay, cool. Hello? So in terms of the school offering in Zimbabwe, I don't have the numbers, but I think Loretta is here. She will share with you the details of the products we offer in schools. But one of the things I wanted to capture from the school's perspective is the work that we're doing on the cloud side. So I always have a lot of conversations with the guys from HIT, Harare Institute of Technology, right? So what we're trying to do at HIT is, because the student that my brother here is producing from the university, for that student to get into industry and be assimilated quickly, they now need to have certain skills. Corporate people are very stubborn. They don't want to train anymore, right? These graduate trainee programs, they will make you do work that they don't want to do, right? So because of that, we're saying, how do we prepare the student before they leave university with the right skills? So at HIT, what we're trying to do is to start teaching like Azure Cloud from Microsoft that we sell to the students while they're still at university. Final year projects, end of term projects, they start playing around with the cloud while they're still in university. So there's an offer that we have. I think the cheapest we have is about $2,000, free Azure credits that go to every student at any university. So long you have an email address that is tagged either .ac, .zw, or .edu. You get free Azure access, $200 worth of credits. On top of that, there's also free online courses for most of these new skills that I'm talking about that are actually available online to get the students to be at a certain level beyond the academic learning that they're looking at. Because there's this bridge from academia in between and industry. So we're trying to bridge that intermediary level by upskilling these guys with certain skills. You'd agree with me that UZ at one point had a Cisco center at the University of Zimbabwe. And I think NAST also has one, where people were training people on networking and Cisco stuff. So now it's moving to the same model, but we're talking about cloud. In terms of the innovation hubs, it is not Liquid's responsibility to define success of a startup. I enable startups with the right mind, right drive, and right passion to succeed. I'm not going to push them to succeed. That's the first thing I wanted to make clear. The second thing is, we've also identified successful startups that are doing some cool stuff that we think we can actually productize under Liquid and have a partnership with these guys. Because no one can beat Loretta's team when it comes to selling to corporates. Even if you are a startup, if you piggyback on Loretta's go-to-market team, they can sell your product. That is something that we're actually piloting at the moment, where we get a startup with their product, we give them to Loretta. Loretta evaluates and says, this product you have, most of our customers want it. Can we co-brand it or partner and sell it to our customers on a revenue share model, whatever you can agree on? So we've got a number of success factors like that. But again, it's about identifying the problem. Let's get obsessed with problems. Because if we get obsessed with problems, we'll find solutions that can create value. So for me, those startups, we are willing to, if there's a good startup, there's a guy in Harare, I think, who's doing some delivery stuff of vegetables and some crazy stuff he's doing in Harare. I was speaking to the guy the other day and I was like, look, Loretta connects all these retailers, TM, Pick and Pay, sorry, it's not Pick and Pay, right? Pick and Pay and Spa. Loretta can go clinch a deal for that guy. Because Loretta talks to the CEO. That enablement of market access is what startups are lacking. The idea of funding is a problem, but I think market access is the biggest problem. When you make your solution, who do you sell it to? So if you make a solution that a Liquid customer wants, we can introduce an open innovation structure where you bring your product, we productize it and co-create it together, and we go sell it to our existing customers. So long for me, my KPI is that product has to be digital and sitting on my cloud. Then I can sell it for you across the continent. I don't know if I answered your question.
Can I make a comment? Sorry, just to comment on that. The other problem that what is facing, particularly these entrepreneurs, these innovators, they do not know what the problem is. They can sit in the hubs and develop solutions to problems that they do not actually know what they are. No one within the industry comes to them and say, this is a problem we have. There's no platform like that. So we're saying, be innovative. You cannot be innovative in going out and trying to have a problem. The problems are imagined, and then they provide a solution to something that is only imaginary. So we still need to create that environment or that platform where a center of some sort where industry will say, okay, we've got this problem, can anyone solve it? I don't know if that's clear.
Yeah, maybe just to give you clarity, because I think it's very topical. But in terms of innovation hubs, what we've done as Liquid, we've partnered with 6 universities that we're going to be helping in terms of building the innovation hubs. So we have chosen us, for example, we've given Chinoi, we've given UZ. So in every town, we picked a university. So assist in terms of building the innovation hub. Why, speaking to what Oswald was saying, we want to create a playground to nurture the talent, such that when you come to the industry, we assist you. Such that as you innovators, as you create your own innovation hubs, you've got a startup, you've got some sort of exposure. So in terms of how we're going to be assisting the education packages, definitely ourselves to do and you are here, we'll give you those packages. So I just wanted to clarify that in terms of innovation hubs, we've partnered with 6 universities. And on top of that, we've actually given you free Wi-Fi for your children, sisters and brothers in universities. Like we say, Wi-Fi edges on is in support. We've actually gone out of connectivity, but to promote in terms of human capital. Someone was actually talking about human capital. How are we investing? We've got you guys on our hands. We want to take Zimbabwe to another level. So I hope I've answered you. Thank you.
Right, we have one last question from a gentleman in the corner. Just one moment, let me give you the microphone.
Hello? Okay. The first question I wanted to ask is to do with connectivity. Connectivity across networks and across applications. For example, if I'm on one wallet, I want to send money to EcoCash. Or if I'm on a certain bank and I want to send it to EcoCash. And I believe connectivity is a good environment for many applications to come. Most of all these applications that are here are because of connectivity. But I think we are not yet there in terms of connectivity. That's the first question. The second question is, at Flow Petroleum, we've got servers, and we want to keep those servers because it's a bit expensive for us to move stuff over to the servers, because the cost of moving to data center is not as cheap as you say it is. It's actually very expensive. We actually weighed the options, and it's cheaper to have our own servers for 4 years. So what I wanted to ask is that you guys have hybrid solutions whereby we can have our servers, and then if we need disaster recovery, we can then have our apps moving straight to your servers when our servers go down. And then, okay, I've got a lot of questions, but then I'll probably see you guys afterwards. The last one is, wait, it's not the last one, I'll just put 2 more. Whitelisting of apps. Do you guys offer any facility to whitelist apps? Because right now I've got EcoCash. My EcoCash app won't work unless I've got data. But I can use EcoCash dialing, which is part of the process. But now if I can use the EcoCash app, it comes with a QR code scanner, which if it was free, it would make life easier for me at the supermarket. Same thing with bank applications. If bank applications were free, I think it would make life easier for all of us, rather than to first use airtime and still pay you guys for that. Right. The next question I have is, there's a lot of red tape in liquid telecoms. Why I say that is that this is to do with infrastructure sharing.
We had a client of ours, a lot of clients of ours that are outside, that are in outskirts. And then when we go to Liquid, we tell them what connection can you get. Then they tell us that you need a VSAT connection. And the VSAT connection costs 3,000 US. But then next to the school there'll be a Econet base station. Then we talk to Liquid and say, can we connect to your base station using Wi-Fi connection, and then go straight to the fiber. Then they always go around and build around the bush. So if you could please answer that. And the last, and then there's another question on Wi-Fi, unlicensed bands. That's your 5 gigahertz and your 2.5 gigahertz. In many countries, people can set up 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. And many startups have started from 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. But here in Zim, I think it's the only country where you have to actually register for 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz and even a Wi-Fi hotspot. I think that causes a lot of interest. So I was saying, in terms of connectivity, I think if you can allow people to use 2.4 and 5 gigahertz to create their own networks and then connect outside, I think that can create a lot of applications there. I'll continue my other questions after that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Before you actually answer also, can members of the Liquid Telecom team stand up? We are from Liquid Telecom, the engineers, salespeople, so that we can all just see you. So as to make the life much easier for our panel and also for the sake of time, for all the commercial liquid related questions where it comes down to issues around your operations, we'll leave them with the team which is around us, but then to the ones which are pertinent to the panel discussion, I'll hand it over to you, Oswald.
I think the ones I'm going to take is the first one, because I tried to jot some of the notes. I might get it wrong. The questions were a bit, quite a lot. So, EcoCash interoperability, confirm. I understand that this is now possible. You can now send money across networks, confirm?
Yeah, I think it will be possible now. It became possible very soon, I think. We're very recently
interoperability issues is like it's a dating exercise, right? Econet and Net1 need to align, right? You know, there was a big challenge during my previous days in Econet that we had a problem when it came to what they call you know, like when someone calls Econet with a Net1 line, so that was money by some of these telesell and Net1, and they refused to pay. Where the relationship at one point, I think they cut it off, if you remember. And these are some of the challenges that happen when you talk about interoperability. It's a two-way relationship, which has to be fair, just, and economically viable. So I don't sit in the decision-making for that, and I don't think Liquid guys sit in that decision-making exercise. But it's a reality on the ground that those guys agree. And the migration exercise, there's so many commercials that the team is working on. In some cases, we don't charge for migration. We will treat it at our expense because we believe that is value. So let's have a conversation about that after this. I think the last one was the whitelisting of apps. That's something that we can discuss. I don't see that being a problem. It's actually viability. But again, remember, we don't really deal on the application layer. We are more on the network transport layer and a bit on the cloud layer. So the application layer, we interface a lot with Econet guys when it comes to that. So I think I can connect you to the guys who deal with that and they can help you. I don't know if I try to reconcile your questions. The rest of the commercial ones, the team will help you with that. I don't have the numbers in mind.
Sorry, there was one more to David. He spoke about 2.4 or 5 gigahertz.
We don't license spectrum. That's not the license. That's not our job.
The spectrum is unlicensed. Like let's say, for example, like you guys are the base station. When I was to connect maybe to 5 gigahertz, right? I tap into your 5.
Yes, that's what you do.
See it?
Yeah, those are the definitely things we offer, right?
Yeah, I'll see how
Thank you very much. Is there one more question? Since it's got more excited now.
My name is Ryan Nari. I'm from Stream Solutions. I came here with 5 questions. I was willing to attack Mr. Jumira. But now when I saw Mr. Brian Dube, I had to ask him. So we develop pharmacy, software, doctors, hospitals, quite a lot of applications. But our main problem is, and I wonder if you're working on it right now, is when the pharmacy is looking for specific drugs and they want to check on data labs, is there a solution to that? And are you talking to not the pharmacies, but the software engineers developing the software? Because if you talk to the pharmacy, they won't say anything. But they have to come back to us and say, oh, okay, can we do this? But we didn't talk to Mr. Brian because he spoke to the pharmacy. So we're wondering, is there a way whereby a pharmacy, if he's running out of something, we can run a web service into your system, check for those specific drugs without sending reorder levels to be too late, and then the person realizes when the patient is here that, oh, no, it ran out. But if the system could have sent already or checked already with the labs. Thank you.
I think if we want to know Mr. Dube, can I also just expand on this because it's quite interesting. Does this only, well, not only apply to data labs, but is there some sort of policy in terms of all people in your industry to develop a system that will work with pharmacies and doctors where they can just simply go online and actually decide to find out what it is that we need and have access to it?
Okay. To answer that one in short, it's a bit tricky, especially when you're dealing with pharmaceutical industry because it's heavily regulated. So there are some things that we are allowed to do and some things that we are not allowed to do. For example, we're not allowed to market products, we're not allowed to allow patients to just go and pick up drugs as and when they want, for obvious reasons. But coming back to the gentleman's question, we are looking into a system like that, but we have decided to start off with the back end, which is basically our production lines. We've been in the process of upgrading our production lines to try and bring them up to scratch. And then we're also going to be moving over onto the platform, to the application side, where we obviously want to be connected to the pharmacies, the hospitals. Like I already highlighted before, that we would love to be proactive rather than reactive. We would like to know all the stock levels in the country of all the drugs available so that at least we don't run out of drugs. So I will be getting in touch with you after this.
Very much big data.
My name is Mr. Vijay Spana from the city of Bulawayo. A quick one. I think one of the prohibitive things that have been happening, especially in the cloud, is that of vendor locking. How easy is it, especially in Zimbabwe, to move from one cloud vendor to the other cloud vendor? I think this is important because sometimes if that is not looked into, you may find yourself paying a lot of money because when the vendor increases their cost of providing the service, you don't have a fallback where you can actually move your data to. So find out in the Zimbabwean scenario how easy is it? That's the first one. And the second one that is critical to me is that in the Zimbabwean scenario, you have got some instances where internet is gone. And I'm saying now, if I'm working from the cloud system and my system is on the cloud, what then happens? Are there any fallbacks that we have in Zimbabwe that don't need internet from outside so that we can continue to work? Because if we don't do that, believe me, cloud becomes very expensive for an organization, because some organization, a day being down means so much in terms of revenue that you can get. Thank you very much.
Let me attempt to answer both. The first one was migration of cloud providers and vendors, right? So what has happened is vendors like Microsoft, AWS, Alibaba, Huawei, and Google, those guys have created architectures that enable swift migration of cloud. I don't know if you've ever heard about containerization and use of Kubernetes and Docker systems. So all those cloud capabilities enable you to switch cloud the same way you can switch service provider as fast as possible. And that migration is swift, but it now needs a bit of skilling in terms of your architecture of your solutions and your platforms. That's the first point I wanted to make in terms of migrating cloud. It's very possible now. I think Google just launched a service 2 weeks ago where you can just switch from Google Cloud to Amazon to Microsoft. And also another architecture that is becoming popular is you have your workloads, right? Maybe you've got your enterprise solution, you've got a database, disaster recovery. You can now set up all these platforms in different cloud providers. So you want your DR side to give it to AWS, you want your core platform, you give it to Amazon, to Azure, you want your other platforms, registration, subscriber database, you put it on Google. So there's a lot of hybrid models that are coming in, and I think our team is being upskilled on that. They are going to come and share with you how to architect your system to enable that redundancy and ease of migration. That's number one. Any more questions on the first one?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm speaking in context of Zimbabwe,
so
not the whole world, because I'll tell you, I'm quasi government, okay? So when you now speak of migrating using this, where I would need hard US dollar, it might not happen for me, because I'm supposed to be using the local money as it were. It might be easy for somebody who has got nostro accounts, but in my situation, it might not be that easy. So this is why I'm saying, putting all this cloud issue in the Zimbabwean context, how easy is it?
So for us as Liquid, I think Loretta and Tim will come and talk to you about what we call Azure Stack. So what we have done is within a location that I will not disclose in Zimbabwe, we have a physical Azure cloud set up in country right now. So we can have, this one doesn't need you to go on external gateways to connect to either public cloud in Cape Town or Joburg, within Zimbabwe. So what we've done is we've brought that Azure in country, understanding number one, sovereignty data issues. Governments and your department specifically, I don't think you're allowed to store data outside the country, from a legislative perspective. So we were very proactive and we brought this cloud into the Zimbabwean ecosystem. So there is this location in the country where we have put in very expensive equipment, similar to the cloud equipment that you see all over the world. It's sitting somewhere in Zimbabwe, where you can actually get a dedicated link to that setup, such that when connectivity is a challenge, you have access to that. But the other thing we're looking at is, as we build what we call, Liquid has a new subsidiary called Africa Data Center. Africa Data Centers is all about building data centers across the continent. And we're setting up data centers. There'll be one in Bulawayo, there'll be one in Harare, Lusaka, Kinshasa, all these countries, solely for that purpose that you're mentioning. That we need localized co-locations where we put our infrastructure, such that this dependency on international gateways is cut off. So you have a local residency where you can put your data. But as of now, it's work in progress, but the Azure Stack confirmed, I think it should be available now or in a few weeks' time in Zimbabwe for all those governments, because we want to take the government to the cloud. Mark my words, we're not joking about that. Because all other governments in Africa are moving to the cloud, or hybrid setups, where they have a hybrid, where they have a local on-prem cloud and also the public cloud, which is what we'll be offering. So that is something that is in the pipeline. So we can discuss further this as we go along. The second question, I think, maybe this one I could ask someone else. You say there are internet challenges. related to connecting to the cloud, right?
Yes, but I think with your first question, your first answer, it answers the second.
Yeah, that's what I was going to. But however, redundancy is very key also from a network perspective. Because networks, whether we like it or not, they also misbehave. Either someone cuts the cable to Harare, trying to sell that liquid cable as thinking it's copper, or the other option is, how do we build redundancies in Zimbabwe? Either there is Econet, Net1, there are other players. Then what happens in many developed countries is you buy different links. A primary link and a sub-link, which is a redundancy link. Such that when this primary one is down, it switches over. Some countries like banks in South Africa, I think they have 4 links into the bank. So that you switch redundancies as you go along.
What I've seen Oswald as well is a combination, so the hybrid cloud solution where you've got a combination of on-site servers being maintained for the comfort of your clients, and then a lot of the stuff going into the cloud. So you can actually do that as well, confirm.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Maybe allow me to add to his question. So in terms of competitiveness, Liquid is working with Microsoft as well.
Yeah.
So are you working with other providers? Because I know that's a concern in the financial services sector to say, is Amazon on board? Are the other guys on board? Because it's a new thing, so everybody wants to sort of get a taste of everybody.
I will not share much detail on this because this is highly confidential stuff, but we are an agnostic cloud provider.
Okay.
Agnostic meaning, if tomorrow you start your own cloud service, we will work with you.
Okay.
So there are many conversations happening with the big cloud providers. I will not disclose the status, but there are new announcements that are going to be made in the next few months regarding that. Okay. So be rest assured that we are going to connect anyone who is a cloud provider into our ecosystem.
That's positive.
All right, thank you very much. There's one more question.
My name is Mbuso Ndlovu from Ministry of Transport. I just wanted to ask how far have you introduced cloud computing in the public sector, that is the government, and how have you tackled the trust issues with the decision makers, and also particularly relating to security infrastructure or security issues?
That one I'll let Loretta take that one.
It's very topical in terms of cloud. Should I call it dissonance? I don't know which name I should use. But what we have done, we've done online webinars that we have actually schooled from administrator level, and now we are going to an executive level. We have actually put quasi-government, big ones, which I will not mention because of privacy, but I will do one-on-one, other customers that have come on board. But what we're trying to say, or what I picked from here, is we are here as Liquid Telecom to assist you to demystify the insecurities. Because the insecurities, in quotes, it's about someone is seeing the information, yet the information is encrypted. So it's a mindset change where we should start from an administration level to an executive. So then from there, from the IT level, we are here as Liquid also to assist you such that if you're very honest with us, you tell us exactly how you want to do the project. We project it financially and actually prove the saving out of the project. I'll give you an example. Let's say it's VoIP, or maybe probably in terms of DRP. If you're doing DRP, I know Minister of Transport right now, you're rolling out, Mrs. Duma, she's rolling out a national project. So she will say, definitely you need a DRP for such an application. It cannot sit at what? It has to sit somewhere. So wherever that is somewhere is, by nature of our government, they will build something. That's an expense. And we are saying, you don't have to build it. We'll give you somewhere where you can store, and then you see actually the value. And remember, in Zimbabwe, we've got devaluation of currency. And as Liquid Telecom, we are not saying that you should worry about that. Players in that RTGS, we are not asking you to pay US dollars. But guess what? In organizations, because of lack of knowledge, even in the Bible, it's actually stipulated. People actually go for solutions where they pay USD dollars. And then they buy humongous things that they don't know how to use. And then they call us later on, can you please rectify the problems? But we're saying, let's start from scratch. We'll assist you in terms of project planning. Once we do that, get us an audience with you, an executive. Tell us the insecurities which you are able to justify. I'm here to make you look good in context of that certain project. So if you allow me and my other team members, we can actually sit down, we project in terms of financial. And then we are saying as Telecom, we'll assist you in terms of where IT department is becoming costs. Actually, it's a saving. Because look at you, if you look at your KPIs, your key result areas, you start from communication. Communication and telephone sits in admin, which is wrong. Because in terms of telecommunication, you are responsible. If you put a VoIP to VoIP, definitely you're going to reduce your bill by 50%, which sits in the IT department. So if the organization was paying 100,000, you can allow the organization to pay 50 or even 20,000 on telephone bills. How are you able to do that? When we integrate the systems, in terms of VoIP, we go on clouds. Now we are using Teams. Teams is another upgraded version of Skype for Business, or an upgraded version of your, what do I call it, online or WhatsApp. But on Teams, when I say go on Teams, and then you just say, Loretta, I don't want everything else. Just give me Teams, and I'll show you what Teams will do for you. I know that many organizations which are in here, your HQ sits in Harare, or either out of, you've got branch, network, wherever, out of Zimbabwe. In point of people traveling, risking their lives, because someone will tell you, at your level, you cannot fly, you have to drive. Someone is tired, they get into an accident. But with Teams, you don't have to invest in video conferencing infrastructure. You can actually do it on your machine. While you can actually see, because all these machines, they come with cameras. So you can actually see everyone in the boardroom. And we can even extend it to your device on your phone. So wherever you are, you can join in a meeting. And guess what? You can go to your boss and justify that. Fine, we have cut down travel costs. Can you allow me that per month I was getting a paid TM of about $1,000? Can you increase my salary by 500? Do you see the metrics? So you'll be able to justify income and also saving on costs. That is our role, full-time role that we are able to assist you to see the cost saving. I hope I've answered you.
Thank you very much. This has been quite an exciting conversation. At this moment, I would like to say thank you to our panel and our moderator. Doctor, you've been a star. Made you stand for quite a day, more than you do in the lecture days. And I think the biggest round of applause actually goes to your audience. You have us your time, and you've allowed us to actually have a conversation which we hope has enlightened you. At this moment, I would like to call on Ms. Loretta, so we'll have to come and give us our closing remarks. We won't be going through the product presentation because I'm pretty sure Oswald, through his conversation and his educator, was quite a lot of the products that we do have. But feel free to speak to our account managers. There's Dube, there's Theo, and the rest of the Dube team. I'm here, I'm a business analyst as well. We also have Tinashe, and we've also got Ms. Majuru. We're here to assist you with what you need. So I hand over to Ms. Ndlovu.
Thank you. Now I don't know how to do the closing remarks, but let me switch now back to the closing remarks. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming through. This is our first time to actually do something like this, or a gathering, an interactive gathering for Bulawayo or Southern Region customers. And I can tell that there is a whole lot more that we can do. And we would also want to do it more often because we have learned a lot as an organization, and actually we now know what are our customers' requirements, what do you need, and we really appreciate taking your time out. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Those who want to see us soon after this, we are available. I'm available until end of day today, and I'll be on touch and I'll provide my contact details and the rest of the team. Thank you very much. The panel, you were great. Thank you very much. I appreciate, and everyone else and everyone who has made this possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. There's still cheese. There's still cheese.
Good meeting you.
Yes, I'd like dessert.
I am on an early bus back to Harare.
Cheese. For those who still like tea.
Thank you.
Thanks
Good
very
meeting
much.
you. Do you have your card?
No, sorry,
I don't have my card. I'm very bad with cards. I never make it with cards.
I'll, from that email that was circulated, your email address.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.